everybody. Welcome to another episode on the challenges and triumph of online teaching during COVID-19. We are looking at when we actually first had the lockdown and we always, had to just go into automatic mode to start teaching online. At the Female Educators Roundtable with your host, Debby Enoe, and another of our educator around the world. Thank you everybody for logging on, and thank you very much for my guests for accepting the offer to come online. One thing we must remember as educators, when you actually first became an educator, it didn't just happen that you became an excellent educator overnight. It was a process. So it might be 3, 4, 5 years before you actually felt that you are an excellent educator, or you felt that you knew enough so that you could call yourself experienced and excellent. That's the same way you need to start looking at the online platform. Stop trying to feel that you have to learn everything on the online platform. It is impossible. You cannot learn everything on the online platform. You need to start giving yourself grace, as someone was saying this morning and yesterday on my program. Is very true. You need to give yourself some slack, and you need to remember that it doesn't come in one sweep. It's a process. Teaching is a process because you're being unfair to yourself. In the same way, when you're teaching your students, they do not understand it straight away. They will say to you, yes, miss, they understand. But if you ask them to write something straight away, what you've done, they cannot summarize everything. So learning is a process. So if you actually have in your mind that learning is a process, that's the same thing with the online platform. The online platform, to learn it, is a process. So you need to start seeing learning as a process, which means that involves the online platform. And stop beating up yourself. Stop trying to feel that you need to know it all. You need to get it right. Sorry, we could be here for the next 30 years and we still haven't got it right. What is the definition of right? What you need to be able to do is learn enough that you are able to transfer the knowledge online to your students. This is new. So stop beating up yourself. And you guys need to remember self-care, self-care, self-care. Because when you're trying to pressure yourself, you're forgetting the basic thing of self-care. Because when you're so tired, you haven't got enough to give your student, because you're tired, because you're frustrated, because you're beating up yourself, feel that you need to know everything on the platform. And as a result of that, you're not coming up for air. You need to come up for air and breathe. And in the process of breathing, you'll have enough energy to teach your students. So remember that. Okay. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, as I said again, for coming online. Can you please tell the audience what country you come from and what you teach and how many years you've been teaching, please?
Okay. Saying hi to all the viewers and everybody who is watching. My name is Soma and I'm from Ghana in West Africa. I've been teaching for maybe 7 years in the classroom. I've had opportunities to teach in other areas as well. But now I'm teaching 10-year-olds and 11-year-olds. So around that age limit.
Okay. Thank you. What do you teach?
I'm a classroom teacher, so I teach math, English, history, and geography.
Okay. Thank you. And we were all forced on this wonderful online platform. I'm saying it's wonderful because I do feel it doesn't matter how we want to attack it, we've learned new skills. So that I feel we need to be appreciative of and be grateful for that, because we learn a new skill that we didn't have before. So that is something that's a plus for us. So when you actually were told that you had to go on the online platform, what was it like? Because you also told me you have young children. So what was that like?
I almost screamed. But around that time, there was the COVID-19. And so we were all very well aware of the fact that going back to school was a no-no. It was almost impossible. So I think for the fact that we were hearing people dying and all of the issues that came up with COVID-19, I think it was the best solution at the point. And we just had to find a way to sail through. But on the first instance, it was just about, can I do this? Is this possible? How are we going to do this? Those were the things that ran through my mind when I heard that. And for me, I think during that time, my children were also in school and they had to come back home. So I was just thinking, how am I going to manage my home? How am I going to manage these children? How am I going to teach my children? How is this going to work? So those were the things that I was thinking about when we were told that we were going online.
Okay, so how did you manage? How did you manage in terms of engaging the children, because you had the 10 to 11-year-olds, you know, and we know 10 to 11-year-olds, those kind of age group, they're up to all sorts. They're very curious, they're very exploratory. So how did you manage in terms of engaging them on the online platform? What did you do?
I don't know if I managed. I think I don't know if I managed. I just think I went through the process. So managing as a person, I don't know if I did, but I think that, and that's where different things for everybody comes in. Apart from having these young children, I also had a husband who was also a frontline worker, so was hardly home during that period. And there were also scares of him working with COVID-19 patients. So constantly the stress of thinking whether he was okay, whether he was going to bring the virus to us, how we were managing. There were times we had to go and take the test to find out if we had the virus, because he probably had been in contact with somebody. There were so many ups and downs in that area. So that stress, and then the stress of trying to keep the children away when I was teaching. So I had to find innovative ways to get them busy. And sometimes it wasn't even pleasant for them. I would find ways to keep them busy, but they would always say why. They were wondering why they have to be shut out at certain times because mommy had a video call. Mommy had a video lesson. Mommy is recording. Mommy is doing this. You could just hear them in the evening when they're talking to each other, discussing. And now when they were even playing together, they would be saying, oh, I have a lesson. I'm recording to each other. And it was so funny because to them, that was a new normal in their home. Everything was about recordings, and mommy's teaching. And mommy says she has a Google Meet, so don't come close to her. Mommy says, and you hear them playing, and they're just playing like, so they sometimes will be sitting there trying to record a class and mentioning some of the names of my students and all of that. So they became part of the whole process. I had to intentionally explain to them what was happening and what I was doing. And I also had to make time for them so that they don't feel like the whole thing was about me and my students. Okay, there were times they complained. There were times I felt very tired. There were times I felt very stressed out. And there were times I almost gave up. But I think for me, it was a positive outlook, and the fact that I had a few support mechanisms. So I had my mother was around. At least there were times I would run to her, carry all the children and run to her so that I can have someone to give them to while I'm at a point. I had to do that because it was getting overwhelming. There were also times when I just had to go in, shut myself in my room and just close my eyes to try and sleep because the sleep won't come. In my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I have to send this work. Oh, tomorrow I have to do this. Oh, no, I have to check this. My student has sent an email. All of that. It was just getting crazier and crazier by the moment. It was difficult. And now I'm just thinking, how did I even manage? But was able to sleep through. I know that God also gave me strength to carry on because I would pray and just cry and all of my emotions were directed to him as well. So for me, I think, I don't know, I can't say I managed because I don't think I was perfect at it. But I think it was every day a learning process for me, every day a new experience for me, every day something that pushed me to the wall, something that challenged me, something that gave me reasons to ask myself, this is just like being at a war front or something. I'm just really, really stressed out. Can I continue? And then I go for replenishment, maybe from reading my Bible or praying or talking to somebody who, a loved one of some sort. So finding different ways of doing that. For my students, I think we had started the bond. The bond had been created in the classroom prior to coming out. So our classroom environment was still there a bit. I was able to affect them in a certain way because I had started that previously in the classroom. However, the online platform was also new for them. So they were also adjusting. Some of them found it difficult and some of them found it very exciting. There were some of them in class who were a bit disorganized, and they were the ones who were excelling during that period because they would not want to write. And this one didn't require writing. Exactly. So they'll just type away and they would ask you, what's the next assignment? And then
Wow.
they were eager, but some of them who were very good in school rather felt this was different and difficult. And they were also adjusting in that way. So I think for everybody, it was so constantly I had to be the stronger one and come in and then try to reassure them, even though I was also having my own issues at home.
Exactly.
I had to just come and put up a very, oh, hi, student, how are you? Oh, I hope you had a good day. And my son is down there crying or pinching me or looking through the window at me. And it was a whole experience of acting.
Yeah.
You have to put up a good front so that they could also be positive about the whole experience. Because if you put a negative experience out there, it affects them and it affects the output as well. So
Yeah.
all the time you come, you are happy, you have to be excited. Well, how did you spend your day? I had a lovely day. I ate this, I did that, I did this. Meanwhile, you haven't even eaten. And
Yeah.
you just had to affect them in a way so that they could also cope because they were also going through the same experience.
Yeah.
And it's important because they looked up to you as a
Yeah.
role model. Exactly, that you would give them that positive environment so that they can thrive. Because there were days so Mrs. Frimpong, so when would all of this end? And I said, you know what? It may end, it may not end, but we have today. And so because we have today, let's enjoy it. You are seeing my face, I'm seeing your face, and I'm excited to have you here. And then it takes away the worry for that moment. And at least that you can have them concentrating and focusing on whatever it is. They went through a lot, just as we went through a lot. I think everybody went through a lot. And so for me, I wouldn't say I managed. I think it was just a process for me, a process of learning. And I'm happy that we are gradually coming out of it. I hope. I I hope, but I think we are getting there. So generally, my students, there were some little misbehaviors online, issues. So somebody can just adventurous, in an adventurous manner, go and set up something that they shouldn't, send a message to somebody. You always had to be checking out for those little things. Um, and and I think they also went through their own, should I say, roller coaster throughout. And so that's probably how things went for me. So at home, sometimes I would just put some things on hold. And I don't know how I coped. Honestly, I'm thinking back, I don't know how I coped. But I think we've come through it and we are still asking for more strength to be able to continue. Yes.
Interesting though. Thank you. It's interesting though, because you say you didn't think that you cope, but the interesting thing about all of that is you got through it. That's the main
Exactly.
factor. You know,
Mhm.
you went through it because you had students and you've delivered what you deliver. So however you cope, you did get through it. And that's the main factor there. You know,
Okay.
the other thing is at least you know that you knew what you needed to do to get the student focused and to get the mind away from, oh my goodness, when are we going to go back to school? You know, so you actually drew their attention to the here and now, and that's brilliant. That is so fantastic because instead of you having them moping, oh, you know, I missed this, I missed that, you say, oh, but look at it this way. We are all here. I'm seeing your beautiful faces and you see mine. That's brilliant. I think that's fantastic. How many
Thank you.
children did you have online? That's so brilliant. That's something I'm going to note of. That's brilliant.
Thank you. So you asked how many children I had online.
Yes. How many children did you have in the classroom and how many of them end up coming online?
So I had about 26 of them online.
You
Mm-hmm.
had 26 online.
Yes.
How many do you have in the classroom?
26.
So you had all your children online.
Yes.
You were blessed.
I had all of them online.
Wow. So they all had access to, you know, to a device at least.
Yes, at least. Yes.
Okay, okay, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. And in terms of engagement, how did you, you know, yes, you know, you don't know how you got through it, but how engaged were they in terms of, you know, listening to you, doing what you tell them? We know, you know, because you had a mixture of boys and girls, right?
Yes, I had a mixture of boys and girls. But like I said, I think what helped me was the bond we shared already. So I
Yeah.
think that was a key. And then they knew the class culture. They knew me. They knew when I would give them that look or when I would smile and say, yeah, or when I would jump around. They knew me. So they knew
Mhm.
what to do. And it was only about reinforcing it and trying to make them still see you as often as possible. So
Mm.
sometimes you have to record your lessons, and when they see your face and they listen to your voice, say, "Hey, oh look at that! Oh no, no, you know."
Yeah,
And
the
then
excitement, the
sometimes
excitement.
they will meet you in a class on probably a Google Meet or something, and they're excited. Oh, there was one time we had a lesson that was typically traditional. We're learning about traditional tales all around the world. So when we got to Africa, so for each of these tales, I decided to dress up like them. So I tried to choose the ones I had clothes for because I couldn't go out and get those clothes. Yes, I was broke down. So I decided I chose China because I had Chinese clothes. So then I had my Chinese clothes and we read a Chinese story, and I encouraged them to also dress like Chinese so that we could feel Chinese.
Mm,
And then we had another session where we had an African one. So I chose a Ghanaian one. So I tied a cloth right around my waist because that's a typical African traditional tale. And then I told them a story dressed up like an old lady because usually those stories are done in the night around the fireside with an
mm,
older or elderly woman. And I
mm,
tried to depict all of those things. I think those were little things that I tried to create or innovate into the lesson just to make it fun, just
mm,
to make them feel like the real experience, although it was just a pseudo one,
mhm,
but just make them feel like they were in a class.
mm,
Even in the
mm,
class, I wouldn't have been able to dress up like that to come.
mm. Yeah,
So I think it was just about trying trying to look through the lesson and then trying to see how creative you could be
mm,
as and when. There were sometimes there were impediments because we were all locked down and all
mm,
of that. But all throughout, I think it was just about trying to do things that would get them as feeling like the real experience, or
mm,
perhaps even more. It wasn't easy. I can't say I was 100% thing, but I think there were times that I would intentionally think, oh, what can I do? What can I
mm,
think of? Oh, let me just grab this hat and let me just play around something just to
mm,
get them feeling like the experience. But in between, you were also learning some of the technology. And so, oh, I'm presenting something. Can you see me? Can you all see what I'm presenting? No, we can't see. And then you're trying to get a whole hang of it. At the same time, you say, okay, that's fine. I'm going to read it out to you just within it, because you can't even present, because you are still learning all those little nitty-gritties of the technological system.
Yeah.
Your lights will go off, and then immediately you say, oh, you pick up your phone, and then your phone is charged, so you just get on back. And then you see that you always had to think on your feet. There was one time I heard that my grandmother was ill, so I woke up very early, went with my mother to her where she lived, and I woke up very early because I knew I had a lesson. And I still thought that I had to support my mother because that's her mother. So we drove all the way there, and there was traffic, and I was getting frustrated because I told her I have a lesson, but I knew she also wanted somebody to take her there.
Yeah.
So when we were coming back, it was almost time for my lesson. I had left my Wi-Fi system at home. I didn't have my laptop. And so I was thinking, instead of getting angry with my mother because I told her I didn't want to go, I just thought, oh, what can I do? What can I do? Okay. So I picked up my phone. I had to get some mobile data. And then I had to look for the documents. Within 2 minutes, I had to log on. And I got the, wow, children. They had no idea what was happening to me at that moment. The fact that I was seated in the car and I was having my lesson.
Yeah.
So all of these little things, because you have a life, and the life was, the children were home, you were home. So everything interfered with what we were doing. There was no way you could run away from it. So I think it's one of the experiences that I think for me as a person made me tougher and tougher and tougher. And now I'm thinking I was really pushed. I was really pushed, and that's the hardest I've been pushed in my entire life. That period was the hardest for me that I've been pushed, because all angles were there staring at me for me to be able to achieve something for each of these places. I'm home. I have to cook for the children. I have to take care of my husband who is in the isolation center helping somebody. I have to do this. I have to teach my children, and there's the expectations for me as well. It was one of a push. It was a real hard push for me. And like you said, the fact that we have come out of this, for me, is a good thing, and then a reason to say thank you to God and to everything around me, and to appreciate what I have as a person as well.
It is. Thank you. It is so interesting. I'm listening to you telling the story of when you actually, was on the way, and you had to do the lesson. And it's interesting though, because there was no point in getting angry with mom. There's nothing she could do, you could do. You're stuck in you're stuck with the
Stuck in
computer.
traffic.
Exactly. So it's a matter of thinking, okay, what could I do? The interesting thing about that, as educators, we are always thinking on our feet and thinking, okay, yes, well, I don't have this. This is what I have to do. I just have to improvise. Let me just take a deep breath and just get on with it. There's no point in me getting stressed, because it's not going to solve the problem. So
we are always required to be a superhuman.
exactly,
Whether
isn't
we like
it?
it or not.
Yeah. And it's interesting though, because that also is demonstrating, as educators, we are always thinking on our feet, and we always have to think, okay, we have a fantastic lesson plan. We went to the lesson with the lesson plan. It's not working. Okay. This child decides, or this student decides they didn't understand what I taught them last week. Okay. Right. Lesson plan become abandoned, and you constantly just have to say, okay, let's do this. So as educators, we are constantly having to be innovative and creative. But the beautiful thing, I know some educators don't agree with me, what COVID have actually done, it have actually forced the education sector to become even more innovative and creative, because we were so into this classroom that we failed to realize that teaching and education can be outside of the classroom. We just have
Exactly.
to be innovative in doing that.
Exactly.
And, you know, on one hand, I keep on saying that we have to thank COVID because it gave us the opportunity. With all negative experiences, there are also creativity, there's also opportunity, and there's also growth. So as education sector, we need to look at that. And it's so interesting when I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, yes, I could identify with that. Because when we are actually, this situation have taught us that there were no separation unless we became intentionally of separating home and the class.
Yeah. Yes.
Because it was there, you know, like you, I have a young one as well. And it's like, there are times I felt so guilty that
Yes.
he was doing his thing and I'm on the platform.
Trying to make people happy, and
Exactly.
they were just yearning for just a few minutes of your time,
Yeah,
just a few minutes, and you are just making people happy.
yeah,
You are being a superhuman being for some many people
yeah,
who can't just wait to see you,
yeah.
and they are there just yearning for your attention and giving you looks that you would you would realize that they're just looking for your attention. Yes, it was a guilty. It was
It
quite guilty.
was.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
guilty feeling.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. For any parents that are educators and had to teach online, we all went through this guilty feeling. It doesn't matter how it was, we still went through this guilty feeling. I had an educator on, she was saying that when she finished teaching online, I think her son was 16, she was so tired she couldn't even give her son any attention, and it made you
Yeah.
feel guilty. Of course it does. You see, because we feel that we are giving to the children we teach and neglecting our own children.
Yes.
Whereas if you are in the classroom, you know, well, this is school time, you go to work, the child
Exactly.
do what they're doing. So there's no guilty feeling because you're doing and you're coming home with the time. But
Exactly.
there was no
Exactly.
coming home. You see,
Exactly.
the homecoming was you were in it already.
Exactly. And then your tensions will be high. So even when they say, "Mommy," so wait, I'm coming, wait, I'm busy. Let me finish this. It was
Yeah,
all about that. Wait. No. Just keep quiet. No, sit quietly. It was all about that.
exactly. And it's for educators that have younger children.
Um,
I actually feel it for you guys because they don't understand why is it
they
that
don't
they cannot
understand.
have
No,
mommy's attention.
no,
Because when mommy is at home, I'm supposed to have mommy's attention.
exactly.
So
So this is one of the things I came up with also. I realized that throughout the week, I won't have time for them as much as they would want me to. So I came up with a Friday night, a Friday movie night with them. So I'll choose a Disney movie, for instance, one of their favorite, the movies that I feel like would get them excited. And then we have popcorn. Then I pour some ice cream on top of the popcorn. It melts, and so they have like a popcorn mixed with ice cream, and they are so excited. We put out the lights, and then we lie on the carpet, and then we just watch the movie. Just about 15 minutes, maybe 10 to 15 minutes of that solved my problems.
yeah.
So I told them, throughout the week, I'm going to give you points. When mommy is working, you should also be working. So I'm giving points for those who are going to follow that instruction. At the end of the week, if you have this number of points, you will be able to watch the movie. And they were excited. It worked for
Oh,
a long while, at least for most of the time. And I think I'll be able to get them to be a bit cooperative without getting upset with me. So that
wow.
was something new I came up with. at least once a week, they knew that they had me just for about 10, 15 minutes. I'll just put everything down. Fridays were the best days because I know even if I'm going to work, I'll push it to Saturday and then planning. But Friday, I finished with that. And so let me give them just a little bit of my time. And that helped me a whole great deal.
Because thank you, that's fantastic though, because it means that I had something to look forward to, and then no, it was a reward system, isn't it? Then okay, if I did work, I'm going to get points, and I could actually redeem these points, and then I could see the movie. That's brilliant. That is so brilliant. It really, it really does help, because it means that you are able to do your work, and then they actually do things to gain the points. But it's amazing how creative we have to be as educators, both in the classroom and in our own life. And one of the challenging thing was the fact that the separation from home and work wasn't there. And that was one of the biggest things. Actually, for us educators, it should actually highlight to us that it is so important that we make the separation.
Yes.
Because we realize that now we were not able to make the separation, and some of the baggages that came with it, or some of the consequences we had to face. And that is so very good, because we now need to realize, okay, this is how we should start organizing it. Because if we don't do that, it means that it's going to lead to burnout. Because your situation could quite easily have led to burnout until you start finding innovative ways to change things. Yes. It's really, it's amazing. That's how, we had to find various strategies to survive, basically.
To survive. Yeah. It was very difficult, but we had to survive.
Yeah, to survive. The other thing is, how many hours did you teach online? How did you organize your online teaching?
So the online teaching was synchronous and asynchronous. So there were times that you would do live lessons, and there were times that you would post assignments and tasks that they were supposed to complete. So when we started, the live lessons were a little less, but subsequently there was the need for more of the live lessons. Okay. So I think every day there was a live lesson. Of course, couldn't do it as many times as you would want it, but there were live lessons. Now we are still having the live lessons, and there are a whole lot more. So you have about 4 lessons a day.
4 lessons. How many hours per lesson?
So about an hour for each of them.
So how do you have the engagement of 10 to 11-year-old for an hour? You break up your lessons in?
You break up your lessons. So you probably can start with a discussion or a fun activity, which you let them clap or talk back to you, and then you use some parts of it to probably display some slides, because that helps them to at least see some colors. So I try to make my slides as colorful and very interesting as possible. Maybe you see some pencils colored, just to get their eyes, they like those kind of things. Then after that, you can get them to do a live quiz. So there's competition. So they get excited and they start to, so you're asking, who's oh, I can see Sean. Oh, yes, I can see this. I can see that. Oh, well done. Then they are just happy.
Okay.
And so you get them to be engaged as well. So it's about trying to put into the 1 hour a whole lot of things. Sometimes the 1 hour would get finished and they won't even realize, because you're talking and chatting with them. And the 1 hour is teaching something very important that they need to know. And so sometimes the 1 hour would be like a discussion them, and then you're also teaching them. Maybe you can ask some questions along the side. So it depends on the topic. For math, for instance, I think there is an online tool that allows you to use a whiteboard. So when you share the whiteboard and then they write out things, you get to say, oh, I can see what you're writing. it helps you because you are teaching math, you can't really write on your board for them to see. So you get those little things. And it's sometimes also difficult to blend all of them. You can't know everything. And you can't,
Exactly.
yeah, you can't really blend everything. So you just do what you do best and try to learn from your mistakes and make it better and all of that. So I think it's just about sitting down, trying to be creative. So today you had your lesson, you realized that, oh, they were tired. What do I do tomorrow to make them feel more engaged? Oh, you know what? Maybe I'll let them stand. Maybe I'll let them shake their bodies a bit. Maybe we'll watch a clip of something related to the lesson. Maybe we'll get somebody to teach, one of the children to teach all of us. Maybe, and now I hear that also, well, not now I hear, there are also ways where you can even get them paired up in groups online. It makes it also, it's also something to learn. So you get them to work in groups, you'll be going into their different rooms here and there in the online, and then you still, so all of these things are things we are learning or we are trying to learn because there are so many
I know, so many platforms as well, eh?
so many things to learn. So I think it's just about being creative and not pushing too hard. I mean, you can't be something at everything.
Exactly.
You just really have to make an effort to be better.
Whoa, Samar, you're frozen. Right, the screen is now frozen. Let's see, she comes back. Anyway, we were just talking in relationship to, you know, we cannot learn everything. We could just learn some things as educators. And something I would suggest to all educators out there, I would suggest that you try to learn at least 2 or 3 things well and use it, because you can't. Hi, you froze. Right.
You can only be better from working hard at it, but you can't be the perfect or best or anything. Just looking for new ways, learning at your own pace usually. But sometimes there's also pressure from work to make sure that you're also bringing in. But I think it's about just putting in the effort, but not putting too much stress on yourself to be excellent at it. Nobody can be excellent at it.
Not at this time. Not at this time.
But you have to be better than previously. You should have learned something throughout the whole process.
Exactly. I totally agree with that. Thank you for that. It's like you're not comparing yourself with any other educator out there. You're comparing yourself with you. Okay, yesterday I didn't know how to use Zoom. Today I now know how to make the connection. I didn't know how to share my screen. Today I now know how to share my screen. And I think that's what educators need to do. As soon as educators start comparing themselves with other educators, then they start applying pressure.
Exactly.
It is so true. So we just need to, the same way we say to a student, is not competing with any other child, you compete with yourself. What you didn't know yesterday, you know it today. Sorry?
Sometimes we behave like the children without realizing.
Yeah.
After spending so much time with them, we start to act like
that is so true. That is so true. That is so very true. Yeah, we get so wrapped up with it that, we don't even realize that we are trying to compete. And
exactly.
It's not a competition. It's a situation where, okay, yesterday I did not know how to share my screen. Today I now know, so therefore I've learned something that I did yesterday. And I think that's what educators now have to start doing, because I've been speaking to so many educators, and the sad thing for me is self-care, they seem to have actually lost the value and the importance of implementing self-care. Let me say it again, educators. If you do not take care of yourself, there is no way you'll be able to take care of your students, because you would have nothing to give. If you don't take care of yourself, I see you as being selfish. The reason why I say that is, it means that when you become ill, your family suffer, if you have a wife, whatever, your whole entire family suffers. Society suffer, the students suffer. The school have to find a replacement. It is cheaper to take care of yourself than to take care of yourself when you're ill. Right? So it's better now that you take time off, even though 1 hour, you take an hour off, you go for a walk, you shut yourself up, you take time for you. Because when you become ill, everything fall apart, and the school now need to find someone to replace you, which is a real hassle. So you're being selfish when you don't take care of yourself. Yes, I'm saying it. You are being selfish if you don't take care of yourself. It is important that you take care of yourself, because you need to start giving, because you cannot give from an empty vessel. How much more could you pour? There's nothing else to pour, because you're exhausted. And the more you're exhausted, the more you start getting frustrated with yourself, frustrated with your student, frustrated with everybody around you. And they haven't done anything. So why are you frustrated? It's about you, because you're tired. So do yourself a favor, educators, take some time off, self-care. Just 10 minutes, have a rest. So it's interesting, because I have to constantly talk about self-care, because educators are telling me that they're teaching back to back. I understand that you have to teach back to back, but in between that, take some time off, do something with the children that is easier for you to do than being completely flat out, because you're going to be no good for them after a while. So those are the things we need to really start looking at. Another question for you is, when you actually, would you say that you're able to transition from the classroom smoothly onto the online platform? So your lessons in the physical classroom, were you able to use it on the platform?
Well, I started doing that. I started by doing that. I started by using those lessons on the online platform, trying to start with that, but you realize that alongside, not everything works. And then that's where you need to learn. You need to adjust and adapt to the different things that come up. So, yes, I won't say I started immediately pushing with the online platform. I think I started trying to, change is difficult. So you still want to pretend. Exactly. So I think that was how it. But along the way, reality will just hit you that no, you are not in the classroom. You are online. This is a PC. This is a phone. So you have to get serious. Move away from the traditional classroom and then try to make things work here. That's for me was how it went. I didn't start immediately. I had to pick up my lesson plans from the traditional classroom and still try and force it into the online space. But along the way, you would learn, you would adapt, you would adjust. And so you would find new ways to create lessons online.
Yeah, thank you. It is so very true, because, as much as we feel that, okay, I could actually do the transition, halfway through you realize, really? It's not working? I have to, do it now differently. Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that, in terms of lessons for the online platform and lesson for the classroom, which one you think is easier?
I think both. It depends on how you look at it. I think both. It depends on how you planning the lessons as teachers has always been the same. I think the difference is the online space, and that's where you have to for the online platform. That's the difference. But planning lessons as a teacher is always the same. You need to always know the basics, of course, and then so each of them has to follow the basics. Except that with the online space, you are doing it differently, and you still have to get the same effect. So I think that is the difference. But planning lessons as a teacher, you always have to be up and thinking, oh, let me change this. So that's the same, except that the space is different. This is classroom. You see the children, your emotions are clear. If you're upset, they see you looking. Sometimes I tell them, okay, have you seen the look on my face? And she doesn't like that, or she wants you to stop. But on the online space, how can you do that so effectively? So these are the things that were the impediments more than planning per se. But I could also say that traditional classroom the planning, because it has been done for a long time, you would always find resources. You find help. But this one is new, and so you are looking for help, and then you can't find much. So you have to now use your own brain to start thinking. Exactly. But with the traditional, people have done that so many years, hundreds of years ago. So it gets resources for that. But the online is quite new, and that's where. So those are the differences I can think of.
Thank you. Would you say teaching online is easier than teaching in the classroom? Which one of these, format do you prefer? Physical classroom or the online classroom?
Obviously, physical classroom.
Why obvious? You say to me obviously. Why obvious?
Because I get to see my children, and I get to affect them. But you see, I'm saying this just in jest, because I also think that now for me as a person, I'm also looking toward the online space,
Right.
where I could also try to structure things in my own way to be able to still teach. I think, yes, this period has also brought or drawn my attention to the fact that it's not that bad after all. If you have the structure, if you have the structure, if you have the way to manage your time, if you have things done differently. Maybe this one was forced, so we had to just juggle and run all over the place. But if you are able to have structure and you can do things in a more managed way, then it's not that bad.
Yeah. I can see what you're saying, because when we were actually forced at the May.
So I want to turn on my lights. It's getting dark. So please give me a minute. I'll turn it.
Sure. Okay, educators, I cannot stress enough.
Okay. I'm back.
Yeah, in relationship to the importance of self-care. Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. One of the things is, when we, as I was saying, when we actually came first from March to July on the online space, it was a matter of, it's like an emergency. So when in emergency situation, your whole body goes into the fight and flight and freeze mode. So all that emotion was taking place. But now, when people know that they have to continue on the online platform, it's a different setup, because it means that you take your time and you plan your lesson. You know what didn't work from May to July, March to July, so you know what to start doing now, right? So that's the difference. In terms of, as you rightly say, plan it in your head, okay, this is the way I'm going to move forward. But when we actually first came on during March month, whoa, it was here you are, here are your students, you need to make sure you teach them how you can, that's your business. That was it. Flight, fright, and freeze. We had those moves. But now it's like, okay, you know what didn't work the last time. Now you need to plan your lesson. So how are you going to do that? With educators, now we know that we should be taking the skills learned from previously and implement it in now. So we know, okay, this is going to work better. I know when I held this book up, they were seeing it back to front. Now I need, I know what to do. So it's a different experience now. And I keep on saying that. It's like when you actually, became a teacher, we had the practice. From March to July, we had the practice. Now we are qualified teachers. So in the same way,
almost.
Almost. Okay, correction is in order. Okay, almost qualified teacher. But at least you're not going to make the same.
Yeah.
That's the thing about it. Okay, what in terms of the relationship with the parents, what is or was the relationship with the parents and you on the online platform? Has it changed? Has it got better? Has it got worse? What's the situation with that?
So I think for the online platform, we're targeting the children because we wanted to build independence. So
Okay.
we kind of, yes, because we kind of push the children, the parents to one side. And moreover, moreover, the parents were also busy when the lockdown was lifted. Everybody was rushing to go and make money because they had been stifled for a long time. So parents weren't even.
Can you?
So can you hear me?
I'm hearing you now. Yes, yeah. What were you saying about parents?
I'm saying parents weren't even home because most of them were rushing back to work.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
And so,
Yes, but when we actually had the lockdown from March to July, they were at home
okay,
one day. So what was,
okay. Oh, I think it was increased because they had time. They had time to ask a lot of questions. Had
okay.
time to support. They had time to also seek your help because now they were doing a lot of the things we do at school. They
Mm,
had to be doing a lot more sitting with them to learn. And you know how it is when you are teaching your own child. It's one of the difficult things to do.
mm. Tell
So
me
I
about
think
it.
yes, so I think they became more appreciative because
Okay.
because they realized the role that we were playing in their children's lives, which now had to be like their problem. They had to think about those things more. So I think there was some appreciation. I had a few people who said, "Oh, thank you so much for all your care and all of that," because I'm sure they now saw and they felt at first hand that it wasn't easy to be a teacher. I think
Mm.
so, yes. There were a few times you get people to say, "Oh, thank you very much. Hey, you people try. You people are really putting in effort." You know, in Ghana, we say, "You people are putting in effort. Oh, you are really trying." Oh, you know, so they'll tell you that, oh, they showed appreciation a lot. And
Oh,
so,
that's brilliant.
yeah.
So are they still showing appreciation? Because what we have over here in America and in the US, UK, when we first had the lockdown, you had everybody was praising the educators. Oh, I don't understand how you guys managed to do that. You guys have done a great job. However,
Yes,
when we are demonstrating that we have anxiety to go back and we don't feel that the government have had a plan and that we are going to be going back in the physical classroom too soon, then they started attacking us, saying that we didn't care, we're lazy, we don't want to go back to work. We had all of that. So did you guys have that over in Ghana?
well, I think it got to a point they were tired of the appreciation. They wanted us to also work because they were paying school fees.
Yeah.
So yes, you are right. So at a point they'll get you like they won't want to hear any excuses because they were paying fees. And so they expect you to work because they're also working. So yes, you are right. It started out very nicely. I don't think it's that bad. It's still very bad, but I think it's a bit different. Now they are asking for more input.
Mm,
That is also another stressor for teachers, especially female educators. I think now
you're muted. Yeah.
the school pressure.
Yeah, you were saying
This
about
and
it's not more stress. It's not more stressing for female educators because they're asking for more.
yes, and so they give the school pressure, and the school turns the pressure also to you. So now you are expected to do more because they are paying their fees. So it started out nicely. I think it's not really bad, but it's not the same.
Okay. So, which means when you say they're asking for more, they're asking for you guys to teach more hours because you are teaching online, right? You've gone back online, right? Okay. So they're asking for you to teach more hours online, or
They're
what are
asking
they
for
asking
more,
for?
they're asking for more contact with their children. So yes, that involves teaching
Okay.
online. Yes, because you don't expect them to, as they will say, you don't expect them to be doing the teaching for you. You understand? So finding ways to be in more contact with the children.
Yeah, but they're not doing the teaching, they were just supporting the child. Because
Yes.
the fact is,
Yes, but
parents need, sorry?
most of the time, a parent would want to shove that responsibility to you. So you take care of that, I take care of my work. And as a parent, I also feel that way sometimes. Look, I have all the things, I have to make my money and pay the fees. So you take care of that. You're also being paid. And let me also go and work. So if you look at it, I'm a parent, I'm a teacher. So if you look at it in that way, you can understand them. But as a teacher, you can also feel the brunt of it. So it's interesting.
It's twofold. But you see, the whole thing is we're supposed to be in a partnership with parents.
Yeah.
In terms of, we support your child. You also see where your child is. You explain some things with your child, because it's not everything we explain to the child might understand.
That's a teacher talking.
Sorry?
That's a teacher, the way the teacher. Now, a parent will not think that way.
Yeah, but you see, that's the whole thing. The
I
reason why
understand
some
you and
parents,
I agree with you. I understand and I agree with you perfectly. But I'm only trying to say that, yes, that's the perfect thing, but that's not the reality.
right. So therefore the parents you don't have a buy-in with the parents, and the parents saying, okay, well, I'm going to work, you look after my child.
Well, I don't have that problem, but I can see that around. I don't have that problem.
Okay.
I think I haven't directly had any problems with any. I've had quite supportive
Oh,
parents.
fantastic.
But I
Brilliant.
can also hear people say that. I can also see some people doing that as well. But personally, I don't have that problem.
Right, 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 right. Thank you very much. Can you give me 3 tips of someone who going to the online platform for the first time? What 3 things you're going to tell them?
Sleep well.
Wow. Okay.
Eat your breakfast because, like today, I didn't eat my breakfast and it was a whole difficult time because I thought and thought. And by the time I realized I had skipped my breakfast and I was tired. So
Mm,
eat well. So basically, take care of yourself
mm,
because it's important for you to be able to deliver.
mhm,
And then take it one step at a time.
mm, mm, mm,
And if you're like me who believes in God, you pray.
mm, mm.
Simple.
Thank you. That's so interesting, because the 3 tips that you've given, they all connect with self-care. So this is constantly demonstrating, educators, that we must take care of ourselves. If we don't love upon ourselves, no one else will. It should be self, self, self. That is not selfish, as I said earlier on. That is a matter of taking care of yourself so that you could take care of the wider society. And if you don't take care of yourself, you have nothing to give except frustration. And when you're frustrated, it means that everything goes wrong. Educators, it is important that you love upon yourself. You need to fall in love with yourself as you fall in love with your husband or your wife, whoever. Because if you don't do that, nobody would fall in love with you. You need to love yourself more than anyone else. It's important. Love, 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 self-care, self-care, self-care. Thank you, everybody, for coming online and tuning in. We had a little bit of internet interruption. This is clearly demonstrating some of the challenges of online teaching, that we'll be talking, then the internet drop and the internet disconnect, we can't hear. Those are what we experience when we're teaching our students online. So even looking at that, we need to be appreciative. There's nothing we could do. It's one of these things. You can't beat up yourself. You can't be frustrated. You say, okay, that's fine. And then you continue, because these are what happen. So thank you, everybody. Good morning, good night, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you very much for tuning in. And please like, share, and comment. It is important that you like, share, and comment. And educators, again, I'm calling you to accountable, be yourself to yourself in terms of taking care of you. If you don't take care of you, you're being very, very selfish, because it means other people need to take care of you when you're sick and then need to find replacement. So it is important that you take care of yourself. That's important. And it's important that you love yourself. And remember, you are enough. You're doing enough. You can do no more. Thank you very much. Take care, everybody. And I'll be back tomorrow with another educator from around the world who is going to share her experience with us of what it was like teaching online.